Karlie and my first date, we ended up going to the fair in Minden.
Kerry and I disagreed just a little bit. He thinks our first date was when we went to the fair, and I'm gonna rat him out just a little bit and say, when I told him I was living in Gothenburg, he said, well, sometime if you're ever available, I'd love to take you on the farm tour and just show you around town. And I was like, okay, sure.
I went down there, we went to the fair, we looked at all the exhibits. It was super hot. We watched her siblings show livestock, and I'm not as much of a rides person, but she bought me a whole bunch of tickets, and we got most of them used, but I don't know, we had a good time, and then I went back to Gothenburg, so it was pretty simple. I wasn't super nervous. We'd known each other for quite a while.
One night I texted him that I was in town working on my classroom, and he's like, okay, I'll take you on the farm tour. And we drove around and looked at all the fields, and then we went up on the hill, Cross Hill, and sat up there for a little bit and chatted. And I think both of us thought it would just be like a quick trip, an hour or two, and after we ended up there, we talked for like 2 or 3 hours just about life and people that were important to us and different things, and we got to know each other really well. So that's probably the first time I thought we were on a date.
My first impression of Karlie was she was absolutely gorgeous, and I thought that the guy she was dating at the time was incredibly lucky.
When I met him, like 7 years ago, I thought the only thing I can remember was I thought he was really tall and cute.
I knew from the first moment I met her that she was really rare, and that somebody I wished I could date someday.
I thought that he had the cutest smile I had ever seen. And when we were chatting at the concert, he was just super sweet. And that was the first thing I took in when I saw him and my first impression of him.
My favorite quality about her would probably be that she is very selfless. She's just constantly thinking about others, putting herself last.
He is honest and truthful and cares for all of those around him. Whenever we're around others or it's just him and I, he's always the same and never ceases to amaze me at how much he cares for those in his life. So our first kiss, we had gone over to Kerry's to watch a movie, and the movie had finished or gotten over, and I remember I was laying close to him and we were listening to music. That's something we both enjoyed doing together, and I had thought maybe it would happen, but I wasn't sure, and I think we were both pretty nervous.
No, she kept playing music and just kind of sitting there looking at me.
And so we just kept kind of listening to music and chatting. And I remember I went from like kind of laying on his stomach to like laying on his shoulder. And I remember quietly saying, I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
I was pretty sure I knew what was coming because she kept kind of inching herself closer to me.
And then we just kind of kissed each other. There honestly aren't any things right now that absolutely drive me berserk about Kerry. The only thing I love right now that he does to other people, I love it when he talks to somebody on the phone and he'll either be telling me about that conversation or he'll just be like talking to himself about the conversation, and he like mimics them in like the voice that he thinks they make, and he does like their hand gestures. And so I think in the future when he mimics me, I probably won't love it. But right now, I think it's a super funny quality, and it just makes the story about the conversation so much better.
She really loves to scare me. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, whether it's dark, light, home or away, she just loves to pop out of nowhere and scare me. And makes me a little angry sometimes, but it's all in good fun. So the proposal, you know, really the thought in my head kind of started rolling around probably back in, I don't know, probably 2 months into our relationship. And actually, my dad kind of got the ball rolling. We were talking about Christmas. This is like the first week of September, and somehow got on the topic of Christmas, and he goes, well, maybe you want to buy her a ring for Christmas. And I was like, whoa, what? And then I got to thinking, I was like, well, if we want to get married this summer, I probably better get on this. So I think the beginning of November, I went down to Minden to help one of my friends from that area harvest, and I thought maybe I could work it in with talking to her dad that weekend. And so we got there Friday night, they were all in bed, didn't have an opportunity. Saturday morning, kind of same deal, although her dad was just chatty, so happy. I feel like he knew what was happening because I think we'd kind of I'd asked her mom about his plans this weekend, or that particular weekend. And then I went and harvested all day with my friend and got back late. And so we didn't have any chance that night. So then Sunday morning rolls around and we were walking out for church and he was out there in his work clothes, and I thought, oh, dang it, I'm gonna miss this opportunity to talk to him. And I asked if he was going to church. No, I got too much to do. So I figured I'd better not leave her waiting on the pickup. So I hopped in the pickup, went to church, and then I thought, okay, well, maybe we'll get the opportunity to talk with him this afternoon, maybe go ride in the combine or something. And all we did was move harvest equipment that afternoon, so still no. And on the way back from moving harvesting equipment, he said something about how he needed to shut off this well at one of his pastures, and he had a flat tire, so I just offered to take him over there. And I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but he literally talked from the entire time of when we left their house to the pasture all the way back except for the last mile. And there was finally a pause in the conversation, and I was about to ask him, and a coyote popped out of nowhere. And of course, we obviously had to go chase that down and try and get it shot. And then after that, he asked me if I shot blue rock very much, and I said, oh yeah. So we got her brother and went and shot blue rock until dark, and actually the whole family ended up joining us, except her mom. And then at the end, when we were packing stuff up and heading to the house, he and I actually were left there by ourselves because everybody else went running to the house. And so, I don't know, I finally got the chance to talk to him, and I was pretty nervous going into the weekend, but once it finally came down to it, it wasn't so bad. And his comments were that, you know, I could have asked him about it any time. I didn't think that was really a normal topic of conversation. But anyway, then 2 weeks later, I bought a ring in Lincoln, and
Kerry and I had gone to Lincoln and looked at rings, and we had just kind of tried some on and picked some different ones. And then I went shopping for a little bit, and we got back in the vehicle, and I checked his pockets. I didn't see anything, so I didn't know if he'd purchased anything or not. And I had no idea when he was going to do it. But we went back to Gothenburg that day, and he didn't say anything about it. So fast forward a couple weeks, and we were at church, and he had told me that we had family pictures that week on Wednesday. So I had picked out the outfit I wanted and thrown it in the washing machine. I was going to get it ready that week. And just after church, he came up to me and he was like, family pictures got moved to today. And I was a little bit shocked, but I was like, okay, well, I have no clean clothes, so they can't be right now. So we went back to his house, and I kind of talked about what I had to do before we could go to family pictures. And I said, well, I'm gonna have to run some laundry. And he's like, well, how long is that gonna take? And I said, well, probably a little bit. I'll text you when it's done. And he said, okay, because he said the time schedule is kind of flexible because Caleb's gonna take him instead of the photographer because the weather's supposed to be bad this week. And I said, okay. So I went to my house, and I kind of had a little inkling that maybe something was up. There'd been a couple things that had cued me off during the week. And so I called my best friend Jess, and she was like, no, this isn't about you. Like, this is his family pictures. You needed to get your clothes washed. And that wasn't what I wanted to hear when I thought I was getting proposed to. So I called my other friend, Shelby, and she screamed and cried, and we got really excited, and she took this screenshot of us on FaceTime, which is humorous, but she gave me the correct response. And so I was a little bit nervous that maybe it was gonna happen, and pretty soon there were just these little things that Kerry had added. Jess and he were working on this together, and she had told him that I was suspicious. And so he texted me something about, well, it got pushed back further because the kids are sleeping. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's not today. And then when we were headed to family pictures, he got a call from Clark, and he said, we got to go out in the pasture and shut off a well. And I was like, oh, it really must not be today. And then he had me get out at the pasture to open the gate, and the wind was just like blowing like crazy. And so my hair got destroyed, and I was like, it is definitely not happening today. And we drove out and shut the well off, and then he wanted to go for a little drive before we went in to his parents because his siblings weren't out there yet, he told me. And so we drove out there, and he kind of drove down this little ridge, and he got out to fix a fence post and a wire and bent down and was messing with it, and then he told me to get out of the truck. And I was like, no, it's gotta be family pictures. So I have to try to fix what's going on here. And I said, no, I can't get out in the wind again. And he's like, come here. And I was like, no.
Wind was blowing like crazy, and I got out and fixed the wire, put the staple back in, and I motioned her, and I said, hop out, I wanna show you something. And she's like, no, I just spent all this time getting ready. I'm not gonna mess my hair up for family pictures if we're just going right there afterwards. And I said a second time, I was like, hey, come on, I wanna show you something. And she just still said no. And finally, the third time I said, come out here. And she gets out of the pickup and, what do you want? And I lean down behind the fence post and grab the ring, and she just starts laughing, because 30 seconds ago she was all mad at me for making her get out in the wind, and there I just knelt down and asked her to marry me, and then we all met back at my parents' house, both our families, and had supper together, and did not have family pictures.
In 5 years, I think we will probably have a family and maybe a dog. I hope that we're surrounded by lots of family and friends on this day again for our next anniversary.
Hopefully we've got the family started, and looking forward to that. Both of us are. We're both very family-oriented people, really enjoy kids, and just really looking forward to that.
We will be more in love than we are now, even though we don't think that is possible. And I think I'll have lots of memories that we've made that I can't even comprehend at this point when we reach that 5-year mark.
I love you dearly, and I'm incredibly excited to marry you and just start our lives together. And I've liked you for so long, thought you were such an incredible person, and somebody that would make an incredible wife for somebody someday, whether it was me or somebody else. And I still have to kind of pinch myself and remind myself that I actually get to marry you. This is really happening, and you're going to be my wife, and I can't wait.
We made it to the special day. It seemed like maybe this week we were just going to go to the courthouse, but we made it. I'm super excited to be sitting beside you, and I'm so glad that I can call myself your wife. I can't wait to make loads of memories with you, and I can't believe that I'm as lucky as I am to have you beside me for the rest of my life. Thank you for all your patience and your love, and for making me part of your family. I love you.